What if Darth Vader kept the 501st Legion? The 501st Legion was born in war. Cloned from the genetic template of Jango Fett, they were bred for loyalty, precision, and absolute obedience. Under the command of Jedi Knight Anakin Skywalker, they became the most feared unit in the Republic Army, earning victories on Christophsis, Umbara, and countless other battlefields. Soldiers whispered their name with respect. Enemies trembled when they saw blue-striped armor advancing through the smoke. When the Clone Wars ended, the galaxy changed forever. The Republic fell, the Empire rose, and Anakin Skywalker was consumed by Darth Vader. And on that day, when the Jedi Temple burned and children screamed beneath the red glow of his blade, the 501st marched behind him. They did not question, they did not hesitate, they obeyed. In our history, their legacy ended there. The clones aged rapidly, phased out by stormtroopers, their loyalty lost to time. But imagine if Darth Vader had not allowed it. Imagine if he kept the 501st, if he fought to preserve the only soldiers who had ever truly been his. Imagine if the galaxy had not faced faceless recruits with sloppy training, but veterans who had fought alongside Jedi and now hunted them with ruthless precision. This is the galaxy that could have been. When the Republic became the Empire, Palpatine decreed that clone production would be halted. He wanted to replace them with ordinary recruits, loyal to the Imperial throne, not to one commander. Vader disagreed. To him, the 501st were more than soldiers, they were brothers in arms. They had bled beside him in the Clone Wars, followed him into the Temple, and carried out his first orders as a Sith Lord. They were his legacy. They were his army. Palpatine, as always, sought to test his apprentice. Would Vader submit, or would he resist? But Vader refused to yield. He argued that the 501st was essential to the stability of the Empire, the sharpest spear the galaxy had ever seen. Palpatine relented, not out of kindness, but calculation. He believed Vader's attachment would bind him further. If the clones served as his comfort, they could also serve as his leash, and so the 501st remained. While stormtroopers filled the Empire's garrisons, Vader marched always with his blue-striped legion. They became more than soldiers. They became a symbol. Citizens across the galaxy whispered of the black figure in armor, flanked by veterans who never missed, never faltered, never showed mercy. To face the 501st was to face death itself. The Jedi who survived Order 66 found no safety. In the canon timeline, scattered survivors slipped into hiding, hunted by Inquisitors and stormtrooper squads that often failed to catch them. Here, there was no failure. Vader and the 501st tracked them with terrifying efficiency. They remembered the Jedi, they remembered how they fought, how they moved, how they thought, and they turned that knowledge into a weapon. Jedi enclaves hidden on distant worlds were rooted out and destroyed. Clones who once saluted these generals now cut them down with blaster fire and thermal detonators. Vader himself delivered the final blows, but the 501st made it possible. The Purge became not a scattered, desperate hunt, but a complete extermination. Fewer Jedi escaped, fewer legends remained. Hope itself became scarce. As the years passed, the clones aged. Their bodies weakened, but Vader would not let them die out. He turned to Kamino and science, forcing Imperial engineers to slow their decay, to create replacements bred only for him. The Kaminoans were eventually silenced, their planet brought under tighter Imperial control, but their work continued in secret. The 501st endured. To the galaxy, they became myth. Stormtroopers were mocked in cantinas, but never the 501st. Farmers on the Outer Rim warned their children, if you see the blue markings, run. Smugglers told stories of entire crews vanishing after a single encounter. And among the rebels, the name Vader's Fist became a curse. This loyalty came at a cost. Within the Empire, the 501st was seen as untouchable. Officers resented them, governors feared them, stormtroopers envied them. But no one dared challenge them, for to challenge the 501st was to challenge Vader, and Vader's power was absolute. Palpatine watched carefully. He had designed the rule of two to prevent such independence. Vader, with his own private legion, threatened that balance. Yet the Emperor also saw its usefulness. The galaxy obeyed the Empire not only because of him, but because of the terror his apprentice carried into every star system. Still, the seeds of distrust between master and apprentice deepened. The rise of rebellion played out differently. In canon, scattered cells grew bold, finding victories against stormtrooper detachments. Here, they rarely survived long enough to grow. The 501st cut them down before they could unite. Sabotage missions ended in mass graves. Supply raids failed. Every skirmish turned into a slaughter. Leia Organa still carried the stolen Death Star plans, but her capture on the Tantive for 4 was not by careless stormtroopers. It was by the 501st, who executed the boarding with flawless precision. Han Solo and Chewbacca still smuggled their way across the galaxy, but when their paths crossed Imperial patrols, they faced veterans who had fought on Umbara and Mandalore, not green recruits. Luke Skywalker still dreamed on Tatooine, but the galaxy around him was darker, more suffocating, more hopeless. When the heroes escaped the Death Star, it was by the narrowest margin. The 501st fought them every step of the way, storming the Millennium Falcon's corridors with ruthless coordination. Only chance and desperation saved them. On Bespin, it was not bumbling stormtroopers who captured Han and Leia, but seasoned warriors. The trap was flawless. Vader did not need to bargain with Lando for betrayal. The 501st secured Cloud City in hours, locking down every corridor, sealing every escape. Luke walked into a prison of precision. But on Endor, the difference was even greater. The shield generator was not defended by ill-trained stormtroopers, but by the most disciplined legion in galactic history. The Ewoks fought bravely, their traps clever and desperate, but the 501st adapted. They countered, regrouped, and turned the forest into a killing ground. Rebel soldiers fell in droves. The battle did not tilt through chance and chaos. It became a massacre. The Death Star was still destroyed, but the cost was far greater. The Rebel fleet bled dry, teetered on collapse. Victory was measured not in triumph, but in survival. For Vader, the 501st was not only his weapon, they were his reflection. They had followed him when he was Anakin Skywalker, the hero of the Republic, and they had followed him into the abyss as Darth Vader. Their loyalty never wavered, not when he slaughtered Jedi younglings, not when he burned worlds. They were the last living reminder of the man he once was, and the proof that even in darkness, someone still believed in him. When Luke confronted his father, telling him there was still good within him, the words cut deeper because of the legion that marched behind him. Vader remembered what it was to fight for something larger than fear and hatred. He remembered what it was to lead men who trusted him not because of terror, but because of respect. And when Palpatine demanded that he strike his son down, Vader hesitated. He saw not only Luke before him, but the faces of the clones who had once cheered his victories as Anakin Skywalker. He heard their voices, their unshaken loyalty, and for the first time in decades, he felt the weight of what he had become. In that moment, his choice was not only for Luke, it was for them, for the men who had followed him into hell and never abandoned him. He turned on the Emperor, not just as a father, but as a commander who could not betray his legion's faith any longer. Lightning burned through him, tearing at his body, but he endured long enough to hurl the Emperor into the abyss. The throne room shook, the Death Star crumbled, and the galaxy shifted forever. As Vader lay dying, the 501st stormed the chamber. They had fought through rebel troops, through explosions and collapsing walls, trying to reach him. Some died on the way. Others arrived just in time to see him remove his mask. For the first time, they saw his scarred face, and in his eyes, the man they once called General Skywalker. They saluted him as he drew his last breath, and then, for the first time in their lives, they wept. The war did not end cleanly. Some of the 501st surrendered to the rebellion, offering their service to Luke as the son of the man they had once followed. Others, broken by grief, fought on in the Emperor's name, refusing to live in a galaxy without Vader. Civil wars flared across the Empire, fueled by their unmatched skill. But history remembered them, not as faceless stormtroopers, mocked and forgotten, but as the most loyal and feared army the galaxy had ever seen. They were the shadow of Vader, his eternal fist, the embodiment of loyalty beyond reason. If Vader had kept the 501st Legion, the Empire would have been stronger, the rebellion's hope dimmer, the Jedi's survival nearly impossible. Yet it also would have given Vader something the Emperor never intended, a reminder of the man he used to be. Their loyalty would have haunted him, their faith would have weakened his chains, and in the end, it might have been what saved him. The galaxy might have feared Darth Vader, but it would never forget the march of the 501st blue armor gleaming in the shadows forever at his side.